Okay, so we're now going to move on to the topic of reducing inequalities. And our first panel deals with the ongoing struggle for LGBT rights around the world. I think some of us in liberal countries in the West forget that sometimes people who are LGBTQ plus community have no rights, the rights that we enjoy. This is not on. So would you welcome the very first of our counselors for this session? He's one of the world's bravest athletes. Having won gold medal for backstroke at the Barcelona Olympics in 1992, Mark came out as gay, received a backlash, including losing his sponsorship deals, but he continued to speak out against homophobia in sport and around the world, and has become one of the world's most prominent voices for LGBTQ equality. Mark is currently chair of the Special Olympics Canada and sits on the board of the Canadian Olympic Committee. He has a special place in the heart of the One Young World family, and will you please welcome the pride of Canada, Mark Tewksbury.
And the only thing bigger than Mark's energy is his humility. I was listening to him introduce himself to somebody on Friday. He said, yeah, hi, I'm Mark, I'm a swimmer from Canada. I said, yeah, well, yeah, Olympic gold swimmer from Canada. Next counselor in the group is the Chief Risk Officer for Aviva PLC, a position she's held since July 2015. She's a well-respected role model for LGBTQ and women in leadership. She's the most senior lesbian in London's financial services sector and a member of the One Young World 2019 London Advisory Board. Please welcome Angela Darlington.
And now, the Chief Operating Officer of the Thomson Reuters Foundation, who's working to combat slavery and human trafficking around the world. Please welcome back to One Young World, Antonio Zappulla.
And the chair of this panel today was actually the MC for our amazing opening ceremony in Bangkok in 2015. He's one of Thailand's biggest TV hosts and has since taken the powerful step to come out as gay, the first Southeast Asian TV host to do so. He's an inspiration to young people across Thailand and around the world. Please welcome Woody Milintarchinda.
So we have 20 minutes today, and let's go. Let's begin. All right, guys. I hosted the opening ceremony in Bangkok in 2015, and I thought that crowd was crazy, but The Hague is way much crazier. Are you guys hungry? We're going to make this quick. Okay. At the age of 16, I remember going to my cousin's wedding. And my aunt came up to me and asked this question: do you have a girlfriend? Are you going to get married? You know, I wanted to tell her, no, I like boys. And I didn't. I lied. I said, yeah, I have a girlfriend, and I'm going to get married one day. So ever since then, I began to lie to people about my sexuality. You see, I grew up in a society, in a culture where you just don't have any heroes to look up to. There was no gay role model for you to look up to. How do you come out? What do you do? There's no manual. I wish I had Google back then. Hey, Google, how do I come out to my parents that I'm gay and not be hurt? Try Googling that. Well, I thought it was okay to not come out, so I decided, well, I just won't, and leave it as that. I left it there for 20 years. Now imagine living life without being authentically you for 20 years. For me, it was a struggle. It was a struggle inside. And every day I wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, asking myself, is this going to be the day that I can be me 100%? So in 2016, 1 year after I hosted the opening of One Young World 2015, I decided to come out for the first time on national television.
Keep going, Woody.
Thank you. Thank you. It was at 8 a.m. It was live. It took me 10 minutes. And a few hours later, I received tons of messages from everyone around the country. Most of them were harsh. I thought he was straight. I didn't know that his parents brought him up to be a faggot. But you know what? That morning, my parents messaged me. Son, we are proud of who you are. And for that, I felt so good about myself. Nothing else mattered. Just a simple message from the person that loves you most made all the difference. And after that day, I became so confident with myself. I didn't care what people said. For once in public, I was so proud to come out and say that I am gay! And I can also add to that, I recently interviewed David Beckham, and I can say that, boy, he was so hot! I could not have said this before 2016, and he was really hot, and he smelled so nice. Although coming out was tough, but I made it through. And the best part was I get to invite all these gay or LGBT guests onto my show, hundreds of them, in fact. And the stories that we shared have shaped the hearts and have felt by everyone in the country. I had dads and moms coming up to me saying, my son is now gay because of you. So I am very honored to be here at this stage, and I would just like to say that tolerance and equality for the LGBT group begins right here, guys. All you need is to have the commitment to have love, respect, and to have compassion with everyone in your life, be it your family, your friends, or anyone who's walked into your life, regardless of their gender identity or preference. You have to say one phrase to them. Remember this: I love you for being you. Because once you're committed to saying, I love you for being you, you will change their lives forever. Thank you. Now, we are moving over to Antonio. Antonio will be telling us about his role of media in increasing tolerance and acceptance, and he recently launched an LGBT portal. Tell us more about that, Antonio.
Thank you. I think I don't need to tell you how important the role of the media is in shaping attitudes and narratives. I mean, the word media came up so many times in these past 2 days. And I guess in the progressive West, to use the horrible expression, we perhaps are more used to see the media reporting on LGBT people. Somehow we've seen the media shifting in the past 20 years towards a more fair and balanced coverage of LGBT people. And by the way, it wasn't the case, obviously, 20 years ago. But now we're more used to see the media reporting on the battles for equal marriage or trans inclusion or the role of companies in supporting LGBT rights. But for example, if you look at countries like Uganda, in 2017, a national newspaper had a headline saying, "Top homos, hang them." Now, that headline actually led to a number of activists being killed in Uganda. If you look at what's happening in Russia, the narrative is increasingly becoming gay means pedophile. And that's really spearheading a number of vigilantes movements who are actually targeting gay men on social media during what they call hunting seasons. So the role of the media is essential. And imagine if you, for example, were the receiving end of that vicious attack, how this will impact your life, how will this impact your career, and even your safety. So at the Thomson Reuters Foundation, we do a lot of journalism. Human rights coverage is at the core of what we do. And then we launch Openly. Openly is a brand new website. It's the world's truly global first website for news and information on LGBT rights. It's been around for 3 weeks, and it's been increasingly received so positively by the LGBT community. So it's very, very happy to see this project happening. And what I want to say is that the content that you'll see on the website is perhaps different than the content you'll see somewhere else. It's truly global, fair, and impartial journalism on the LGBT plus community. And it's powered by the journalism of the Thomson Reuters Foundation, but crucially, the content is distributed through Reuters Newswire. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the media industry, but Reuters is the world's largest newswire, which means that we provide news for newspapers and magazines around the world. So our news land on hundreds of thousands of newsrooms every day. And that means that our LGBT plus stories now are being distributed across newsrooms in Scandinavia or in Norway, but also in Uganda, also in Saudi Arabia, also in Indonesia. So by distributing these stories to the world, we are actually changing the narrative already. And I think that's quite an important effort in spreading this news around the world. And
You have a clip too, right?
we have a clip of our launch campaign that was on Times Square in London, which you'll be able to see. These are actually real words that have been used by the media in 2018 in referring to LGBT plus people. And the whole message was, we really want to shift the conversation. We really want fair, impartial LGBT coverage. And by the way, just to be clear, I'm not advocating for the media to be LGBT friendly. I'm advocating for the media to do what they are supposed to be doing. Good journalism, which is fair, which is impartial, and which is accurate.
That was impressive, Antonio. Now, we're moving on to Angela Darlington. She joins us today to discuss the importance of role models in the LGBT community. Angela.
Thanks, Woody. And I couldn't agree more with Antonio that the importance of the media in shaping how we feel as LGBT people in our countries. If I look back at the social and press history in my life, homosexuality in the UK, where I'm from, was decriminalised the year before I was born. Yet by the time I was 20 and at university, a new law had come in called Section 28, which effectively stopped local governments being able to promote homosexuality and had some really damaging language. It described us as pretend relationships. So it's not a surprise that, like you, I took a long time to come out to myself. I was 24 before I had my first relationship. And despite having had a very loving relationship with my lovely wife for the last 26 years, I've only really been out at work in the last 10 years. Now, don't get me wrong, we've made a huge amount of progress in the UK. We have good equality legislation. We have trans rights recognized legally. We have same-sex marriage. But I worry that that's not always a one-way street. We still have too much homophobic hate crime in the UK. And we celebrated recently with our friends in India the decriminalization of homosexuality, but that was just, one step on a journey, because it had been decriminalized before, and then recriminalized, and then decriminalized. So I guess my question is, how do we protect the rights that the hard-earned rights, and how do we defend ourselves against hate? And I think visible role models are a massive part of that story. a story for another day, but I only came to that realization in a drunken evening when one of my colleagues who was part of Aviva Pride told me I was a terrible role model because I was a little bit out, but not properly out. And I was senior enough that I was role modeling that it's not okay to be gay at my company. So I started on a journey of being much more visible, doing more things like this. I was very happy 6 years ago to be on the first ever Financial Times list of out business leaders. And the power of the media, and Antonio was on that list last year. I've managed 6 years in a run, hopefully next week when this year's list comes out. But it's a really powerful statement. It's on the Financial Times website, not behind the paywall, and in every printed copy around the world with no exceptions. And that sends a very clear message from people like me, which says, yes, I am a business leader, I represent my company, but I'm also out. And I'm really proud to be out in the most public way that I can possibly be out. And the other message, it says we're everywhere, right? We're on this here, we're in the media, we're in broadcasting, we're in sports, we're in boring places like insurance too. You know, and that's really important because I know that the 20-year-old me who once got the message that it's not okay to be LGBT from the establishment is now getting a message, hopefully from people like me, that I would have recognized me. I would have seen that I was out, proud, visible, and that there are way more allies out there as well who are visible supporters of the LGBT community, and way more companies like ours who are prepared to put their name and their brand behind very visible support for LGBT rights. So that is what my call out to you guys today. If you are gay, be the best role model you can be. But if you're not gay, be a visible ally to our LGBT community. Wear a rainbow badge, wear a rainbow lanyard, do something to make it feel safe for those of us who are going on that difficult journey of coming out in our lives.
Thank you, Angela. Let's move on to Mark. Mark is about to share something special with all of us. It's a 20-year anniversary, but of what? We'll let Mark explain. Mark?
Surprise. I came out 20 years ago. But listen, it's so, I don't think any of us ever set out to talk so publicly about such a private part of our lives. But when you're not the norm of society, sometimes you have to just declare what you are so people understand it. If it wasn't the case, you know, if I could go home and say, Mom, I'm heterosexual. And my mom went, oh no, you're gonna have grandkids and all. You know, that's not the world we live in, right? So it has to be the other way around. I never set out to be a role model. I grew up a long time ago, 35 years ago, I was in junior high school. And back then, no internet, no communication, no language for what it meant to be LGBTQ2IS, the acronyms. And with respect. The word came to me. I was in grade 8, and I came to school one day. I've always been this bundle of energy and enthusiasm and kind of betrayed my personality and excitement. And that was interpreted kind of as effeminate. And I opened my locker one day, and there was the word fag. And I didn't even really know what that word meant. I just knew it was not good. But I'll never forget going home and just being really shaken up, and my mom said, I heard you skipped the afternoon of school today. What happened? And I said, oh, I can't tell you, Mom. And she said, no, I need to know what happened. And finally I said, there was this word fag on my locker, and I watched as all the blood drained from her face, and she went absolutely white. And I thought to myself, wow, that's what shame looks like. I can never, ever talk about this again. And I just filed it away. I think that what stops us from sharing a secret, whatever that secret is, we're afraid of loneliness, rejection, sometimes violence, persecution, discrimination. I wanted to have friends, community, be loved. But at what cost? At a certain point, to fit in meant denying who I was completely. And I reached a point in my life where, I want you to listen to this, the idea of belonging. My longing to be myself superseded my need to belong. I had to start with me. right? So, I was an Olympic champion. My country loved me. I was on the front cover of Time magazine, and everyone kept saying, "Oh, you're so great, you're so great." And I thought, okay, let's test this. And I decided to use that enormous amount of goodwill to shake people up, to put in their face, I know you don't think gay looks like this, but baby, this is gay. Some people might call that brave. I want you to know that if you're in this room and you're not out yet and you don't feel brave and you feel afraid, and that is totally normal, and you will get to wherever you need to get to in your time. But when I came out, it wasn't brave. It was desperate to be myself, longing to be the whole human being that I could. It came across as brave, but it was just an act of survival. I leave with one point. I'm old enough at my age that in my lifetime, I was told for decades that I was on the wrong side of morality because of who I was. Now the laws have changed, and I'm on the right side of morality. But here's the thing, I didn't change, the outside did. So don't pay too much attention to that, pay attention to this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
The four of us spoke yesterday, and we said that imagine 20 to 30 years from now, kids in school will be like, what's gay? What's lesbian? What's LGBT?
Male? What's female? What's...
Do you see that possibility? Of course it's going to happen. You know, but talking about gender fluidity, right, Antonio?
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, my mom is a teacher at school, and when I was at school, nobody was gay at school. I mean, I grew up in Sicily, and now my mom's got, you know, students who at the age of 13 are clearly trans or are clearly identifying as gay men. And it's been a really formative experience for my mother as well, who now feels that she's cool. She can share her story, like, oh, my son is gay. Come talk to me.
Any thoughts on that, Angela?
Right, I mean, in the UK, we're just finalising our Gender Recognition Act reform, and it's been really powerful, the debate that's going on. Good and bad, actually, I think. But I'm hopeful that in 20 years' time, we'll have learnt from this, and we'll have realised that this is kind of fine. We're all different. We're all individual. We put each other in categories, but kind of at the end of the day, you know, I'm me. It doesn't matter whether I decide I'm male or female. I'm me, and that's what's most important to this journey.
We just read in the news this morning that the Netherlands has just launched the first ever in the world a gender-neutral passport.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Isn't that exciting? It says time's up, but I need another minute. Mark?
Well, I just think you are so inspiring. We, the counselors, go backstage and in the green room and talk about the amazing stories that you share. And I feel like with you guiding our future, we can chunk up. Forget gay, lesbian, straight, bi, male, female. Let's go right up to human being and start there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was amazing.